the two teams that faced off last week, not this past week, the week before, but it's Michigan and USC. And let's start with Michigan, who's back in the top 10 now at number 10 in the country, the one loss being to Texas. And we've seen the difference now with Alex Orji at quarterback the last 2 weeks. They've resulted in 2 wins, but they're not necessarily convincing wins. It's been grinded out. It's been get one critical stop. It's been get one critical drive. 2 weeks ago against SCU was the Mullings long run to set it up and eventually win it. And Mullings has been probably their best player, at least offensively, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns this past week in their win over Minnesota. But Minnesota had an onside kick that looked like they recovered in a 3-point game after trailing by many scores. It was, I think, 24-3 early in this game. Yeah. Michigan was in
24-3 entering the fourth quarter.
Yeah. In complete control. Michigan was in complete control of this game. Give credit to PJ Fleck's team for the way they fought. And Max Brosmer did a great job leading that team back. And it felt like they were going to have a chance to go at least try to tie or win the game.
Right.
And there was an offside call that the Big Ten is now going to try to institute a rule change basically to fix. But all that to say, Michigan got the win. So are you buying or selling an offense for them that's sustainable with 2 straight victories?
I'm not selling yet, but I will say as we look at these 2 teams, Michigan and USC, going forward, I feel a little bit better about USC. And this is why. Even though Michigan beat USC by an identical score, 27-24, the same score they beat Minnesota with this week. But the reason is the offense in the passing game, they can't be so one-dimensional and continue to beat people, and I don't know that their running game is as dominant as it has been in other years, but Mullings has given them a huge boost. It's so funny because when I was on the field before the first game against Fresno State, Dave Abloff, their sports information director, came up to me, and I was standing right by Kalel Mullings, and he said, he's going to have a great season this year. And he's been right. I mean, Kalel Mullings, without him, Michigan wouldn't be where they are right now. They wouldn't be ranked. They wouldn't have the record they have. So because Donovan Edwards, for whatever reason, has not done what they thought that he was going to do this year in his final year. So, I would say, Alex Orji, even though he did complete 10 passes out of 18 attempts and he did throw a touchdown, it was still well under 100 yards of pass offense. He had an interception. He had a fumble. He's still growing and learning as a quarterback. And now he's going to go into a hostile environment in Seattle against a Washington team that I think is better than people maybe are giving them credit for right now. So that concerns me. Plus, the fact that they had a 24-3 lead going into the fourth quarter at home and almost found themselves in a tie ball game or on the losing end is concerning for me. This Michigan defense is not putting up the same kind of numbers that they did a year ago. They're giving up over 300 yards a game. They're giving up 21 points a game. And so that is not the kind of Michigan defense that we're accustomed to seeing either. So there's still question marks surrounding the Wolverines, but they found a way, to make it through so far with that only loss being to Texas.
So it sounds like to me you are buying the USC defense after they completely shut down Wisconsin in the second half this week.
Yeah, I think I am, because I know what I've got with their offense. I know that Miller Moss, even though he threw some picks in the first half and they got booed coming off the field, losing 21-10. I've seen enough of him that I'm a fan of Miller Moss, and I like him and I like Lincoln Riley calling the offense, and they're going to be able to score and move the ball. It's always been about the defense and the question. And so I think for them to do what they did in the second half is very impressive. And I think that with Danton Lynn, the thing that I see, they're not flawless. They're not, stuffing people and dominating on defense, but there is a toughness about this USC defense that I've not seen before. So, and I think that is directly related to him and the defensive staff. I think there's a new toughness and physicality about the USC defense that's been missing for a long time.
To your point, they don't need to be the number 1 ranked defense in the country with an offense that we think is capable of putting up legit points. They just have been better than what they've been the last couple of seasons, and really in the first 2 years of the Lincoln Riley experience out at USC and going back to his time at Oklahoma. Yeah. So No,
And you just comparing those two teams that we talked about, right? I mean, they both won games, but in dramatically different matches, right? Michigan was up 24-3 and had to hold on to win, and USC was down 21-10 at halftime at home and came back and shut out Wisconsin 28-0 in the second half. So, USC has to feel pretty good about their momentum and their energy coming out of that game.
Held Wisconsin to 2 of 10 on third down, pick 6 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.